Hey indie game fans! Metroidvanias are an essential part of the big picture, so I'm always on the lookout for more, so here are 20 more Metroidvania indie games that I have uncovered. Do check out the first video if you have not, but we shall begin with Vernal Edge. This is a super slick and stylish pixel art Metroidvania title, which is my favourite combination of art style and genre. Explore a mysterious floating kingdom in the sky to exact revenge for your father, clashing with a cultish church while mysterious figures move around and plot in the shadows. This is said to take inspiration from Devil May Cry, which you can definitely see in the combat and the letter grading on screen, allowing you to juggle enemies in the air. There is a poise system for enemies, which will prevent stuns and knockdowns, adding some variety to the combat as you need to whittle this down first before comboing them into oblivion. Structurally, this will perhaps bump up against the definition of a Metroidvania, since there are distinct islands in the Sky Kingdom which you can explore at your own pace, so not exactly one contiguous map, but there are traversal ability unlocks that allows you to access new areas. Regardless, how great does this look? You may know that I'm a sucker for high-bit pixel art details in skylines and clouds, and the art shown off here is indeed fantastic, already selling me on the game. This is currently on Kickstarter with about 50% to go, so please support this one. There's a free demo available to try if you're not convinced, so do give it a look. This next title ran into a little bit of controversy when it was revealed, since visually, Gleamlight does look very much like Hollow Knight, down to the moody atmosphere, crystals, combat, and so on. However, it does use the stained glass aesthetic, which can be pretty neat, so I'm giving this one the benefit of the doubt until we see more, but as of yet, no new gimmick has been shown off. If you say that your game is inspired by Hollow Knight, Mega Man X and Symphony of the Night, you will at least get my attention, and such is the case with Lone Fungus. True to form, it does look very Hollow Knight in nature, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, since this has some unique ideas of its own. For one, there seems to be an extraordinary number of spike pits everywhere, as well as more platforming and traversal-based challenges. There are the expected boss fights and combat, but it certainly has made me curious to see more. A little bit of a disclosure, since this developer does frequent the channel and I've chatted with them, where I do identify with the struggle, since this solo developer does work a day job while working on this on the side. Art styles make games, and one which seems to have it handled quite nicely is Enter DIGITON, a 1-bit Metroidvania title which, interestingly enough, did not just confine itself to black and white as per Gato Roboto, but has a variety of colours from green, red, and blue. In a world where technology has become so advanced that man was using it to control the environment, 4 demon lords rose to power, and it is up to our hero to save the day. Interestingly, your main weapon here is only a shield, but you do also have different masks, which do grant different abilities. I'm charmed by the art, so could be pretty neat. Lovecraftian horror have inspired their fair share of games, and a Metroidvania title to use it is Dreamless: The Madness from the Sea. Play as a British archaeologist whose fate is inexplicably tied to the famous lost city in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Fight cosmic horrors, prevent the awakening of Cthulhu, and save humanity in the process. If your trailer opens up with pixel art Metroidvania, then you know I will be drawn to it like a moth to flame. So HAIKU, the robot, is of interest. This has you exploring a post-apocalyptic virus-infected world where life forms no longer exist and the world now belongs to machines. Our hero has to purge the virus from these other robots with an intentionally limited color palette, which has quite the unique look. Little bit of a kunai vibe with this, so eager to see more. The very minimalistic but impressively Souls-like Metroidvania, the CORK, was featured on the channel recently, and being a fan of pixel art, this one was very interesting to me. Wielding a sword that will make Cloudstrife jealous, our hero returns home to find his village decimated by a plague which has turned the villagers monstrous and hostile. A gigantic fortress has appeared just beyond the village, which was previously not there, stemming from an enormous crater, so it is up to you to delve into the dungeon, uncover the mystery of the Forgotten Kingdom, and find the cure for the illness. I am so very impressed by the art, with how much this developer manages to achieve with so little, and this is currently on Kickstarter with quite a ways to go, but do chip in if you can. Not much is shown of XEVOREL, The Way of the Feather, but I do like what is shown in terms of the art, so waiting to see more. Cannot believe that I missed out on this one, but ANEW The Distant Light is a sci-fi Metroidvania where you need to fight enemies, gather parts, find your co-pilot, and repair your ship to get home. While the art may not be for everyone, I do quite like what I see, with a large variety of areas and biomes to explore. On top of your regular abilities and upgrades, you can jetpack, skate, swing, and climb across the alien moon with a ton of different types of enemies and even vehicles to pilot, including a giant mech, a dune buggy, and a flying saucer. This developer did review their Metroidvania map a little while back, and I was pretty impressed with the scale and size of it, so it should be quite a substantial experience to dig into. This one reminds me a little bit of Feudal Alloy, but sci-fi, so one which I myself am looking forward to. Again with the impressive pixel art visuals in the cyberpunk-themed ARIA Disconnect. Set in 2082, our protagonist is hooked up to a machine Matrix style, and the only way to get out is to fight and to disconnect. There are your usual tropes of exploring the character's subconscious mind, which can be all kinds of messed up, but it seems to be pretty well put together. It's a little odd in terms of the resolution and the lighting, not really showing off the visuals, but the concept and initial look does pique my interest.
In a village far, far away, a peasant, Rufus, was enjoying a pleasant peasant life. Until one day an evil creature kidnapped his beloved wife Brunhilde and turned her into some sort of hideous duck-face girl. Determined to save his wife, Rufus armed himself with broom and bucket, the first to be used as a weapon, the latter a helmet, and began his perilous journey. This is how he became the the bucket knight. Oh, well, let's just call him Clunky Hero.
This one's a light-hearted and comical take on the Metroidvania, since Clunky Hero has you playing as the peasant Rufus, who has to rise to the occasion. A title which really wears its Metroid inspiration on its sleeve, Outpost Delta is a sci-fi pixel art title where you have to explore an abandoned research station which now has hostile aliens attempting to board. Repel the threat, save the station, and head into space for answers. While the control scheme looks more suited for mouse and keyboard with the aiming, the way this plays with gravity looks neat and could be used quite cleverly in puzzles, exploration, and combat. This is a little bit cluttered visually, but is still pretty nice looking. As of recording, the Kickstarter campaign for the self-titled Metroidvania Curse of the Sea Rats is slated to go live in a couple of days and is set in 1777 Ireland, where a bunch of heroes have been transformed into rats by a pirate witch who must then rescue the Admiral's son, capture the witch, and break the magic spell. First things first, the hand-drawn art and animation is absolutely delightful, reminding me of 90s Disney animations with a mix of 2D and 3D, which is done quite nicely. The 4 playable character setup is interesting, since you can choose any and play through the single player campaign that way, but it somehow also does support 4-player local multiplayer, which is probably new for the Metroidvania genre. Cannot get enough of the art, which makes this exciting, so check back in a couple of days to take a look at the campaign.
The blood on my hands, washed away by the unrelenting rain. A believer would see forgiveness. That is not what I am.
Love me some steampunk, so STEAMDOLLS-ORDER of Chaos is high on my list, with a focus on action, exploration, stealth, and blood. It looks good, with the dual arm blades of the character looking pretty fun, and this developer even managed to get Solid Snake himself, David Hayter, involved in this project.
To expose the sins of the world.
The developer of SHEEPO did reach out to me, and having taken a look at the trailer, I'm more than happy to show it off. This has you playing as, I quote, a shape-shifting sheep thing who must collect samples of each living species for an intergalactic database. There's a creature collecting element where you are able to capture and even transform into said creatures, using these forms in the platforming and even boss fights. Dig, fly and teleport your way through the world with the expected hidden secrets to uncover. Pretty cute looking game as well, but the boss fights do look challenging. Not quite sure what happened to the development of Ghost Song, since the trailer was taken off the Steam page, but this developer still appears to be active on Twitter, so fingers crossed development is proceeding along nicely. A hand-drawn and hand-painted title, you awaken on the moon of Lorien 5, which is a place of curiosity, history, and terror. Really beautiful looking game, if a little bit dark, with what seems to be some unconventional upgrades shown off in the trailer. There are inhabitants of the moon with tragic stories to tell, with this being quite a long time coming, so who knows when we will get to play. A bright and beautiful pixel art title is Super MOMBO Quest, a precision platforming focused game with an adorable main character. It combines the arcade feel of such games with a Metroidvania, which seems to be quite a nice mix, with upgrades, boss fights, and beautiful skylines once again. Another sci-fi pixel art title makes the list with Transmute. While it does star another Samus-like protagonist and yet another abandoned research station, this is 100% my jam due to the look, and what is most interesting about this is that there are 18 optional upgrades that encourage multiple playthroughs. whether it be adding a drone buddy to fight alongside with you in combat, changing your default attack into spiraling lasers, or even summoning tentacles to block enemy projectiles. Not sure whether choosing some upgrade will lock you out of the others, but the challenging boss fights and good old action platforming is something that I will never get sick of. For a hand-drawn Metroidvania adventure, Endless Memories is one to keep an eye on, since this has you exploring the magical world of dreams in this. Well, not so magical since there are enemies and monsters in these scenarios, but it certainly allows for a wide range of themes and biomes, from high fantasy and giant spiders, sci-fi and mechs, a killer toy factory, dinosaurs and more. This has your RPG systems of Symphony of the Night, combined with the fluid action of Dead Cells, resulting in what seems to be quite the promising title. 250 types of enemies, 30 plus bosses and more await, so it seems to be quite the hefty experience. There are also additional elements such as battle arenas, plant cultivation, unique trials and more, with a variety of weapons ranging from swords, axes, maces, scythes, magic, guns and more. A huge variety of influences which I hope can be put together nicely. Another pixel art Metroidvania title makes the list, but this one uses the dark gothic aesthetic, so more like classic Castlevania in more ways than one. Living in a world where magic and science clash, and where belief in ancient religion is law, the capital city of Mithrangal rose and fell, once opulent and decadent, but has now fallen under a mysterious plague. Our main character is the central player in the middle of a conspiracy larger than himself, where he is haunted by the words of an ancient prophecy that pushes him forward. From the art, setting and story, this does remind me quite strongly of Bloodborne, and I'm certainly not complaining since I do love the theme. It has really impressive high-bit pixel art, perhaps on par with Blasphemous on some level. This is already fully funded on Kickstarter with plenty of time to go, so check it out if you're interested in the other rewards. As we kicked off the video with a great looking pixel art Metroidvania, so too shall we end with one, taking the #1 spot. To see more of the big picture, check out these awesome videos and I will see you after the jump.